At the start of the Great War in August 1914, thousands of soldiers of the British Expeditionary Force crossed to France from Folkestone and Southampton. Nearly 250,000 made the crossing in the opening months of the war. It's known that over 8 million crossings were made from Folkestone during the course of the war, and as well as major battalion movements, most leave crossings took place between Boulogne and Folkestone. At some stage in early 1915, the sisters Flora and Margaret Jeffrey, aided by Mrs Napier Sturt, set up the Canteen on the Harbour Arm to provide a light buffet and tea free for soldiers travelling to and from France. The Canteen was only open to people in uniform, but others seemed to get in, and politicians and people of other nations did actually come in and sign the visitors' books. The idea for the visitors' books was seemingly conceived in mid-1915, and the first entry takes place in June of that year. The first 3 books are standard visitor books as you'd find in any hotel, just with the visitor's name and the address. But from volume 4 onwards, in April 1916, they were specially printed with the name and the regiment. Covering a period of 4 years, up to 1919, over 42,000 entries were made, most from ordinary soldiers and officers travelling to and from France. But other people, including the Prince of Wales, Field Marshal Sir Douglas Haig, French Marshal Foch, and the Prime Minister of the Allied countries, all signed the visitors' books as well. Many Victoria Cross holders signed the books, as did a number of the war poets. A notable local signature is Corporal Cotter of the Buffs, who won the Victoria Cross. A press cutting is attached to his entry. Some of the book entries are simply a name in a regiment, others have a regimental number, others include more detail from the soldier himself, such as where they came from. There are poems, various comments, and even a black feather is pinned in one of the books. Many of the signatures are carefully written, others are very hurriedly done, obviously as they were rushing to get a boat. Many of the signatures have sadly faded with time, but most are quite clear and readable. To me, the fact that these entries in the books are possibly the last thing providing written evidence of a soldier's existence is very poignant. The death rate on the front was 1 in 12, so the majority of the soldiers did come home. But for those that didn't, this is perhaps their last written evidence of their existence. After the war, Margaret and Flora Jeffrey were both awarded the OBE, the Belgian Queen Elizabeth Medal, and the French Medal of Gratitude. The visitor books were donated to Folkestone Council and were rebound in uniform covers marked autographs from Folkestone Pier. The books were held in Folkestone Library for many years, but were not visited very often, not accessed very often, until they were discovered a few years ago by local historians. These wonderful books are now retained at the Kent County Archives in Dover. Shortly they will be online on the Step Short website for everyone to see.